Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Mapleton Township Council meeting for Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. We have brand new microphones. We have new camera system. We're all ready to be going live and sounding great out there. So if it doesn't sound great, please contact Carl on our IT. He'll be happy to fix it for us for next time. If you can, please rise for O Canada. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Confirmation of minutes, resolution 4.1, moved by Councillor Reid, second by Councillor Martin, that the minutes of the Township of Mapleton Council meeting held on July 14, 2026 be confirmed as circulated in the agenda. Any comments, questions? All in favor? It's carried. We have no matters arising from the minutes, nothing under the Planning Act, we have no delegations. We're right down to reports from staff then. And we have the Building Department report first up. Mr. Mike Welsh.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Starting to slow down a little bit in the Building Department in July. We only issued 35 permits. We are right on average for our usual totals, but it's a little slower than we would like. We're still far outpacing our expected yearly revenue, so we're having a good year in the Building Department still. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has anything about building.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions? Resolution moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Reid. Township Mapleton Council received Building Department Report BD 2026-10 dated August 11, 2026 regarding permit activity for the month of July. All in favor? It's carried. Next item on the agenda is the CEO Clerk's report. 9.21 food vendor licensing. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, sir. This is an attempt to tidy up a 2005 bylaw and hoping to find a balance between regulating any bad behavior and protecting our fixed address restaurants.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The resolution moved by Councillor Reid, second by Councillor Martin. The Council received for information report 2026-09 regarding the licensing of food vendors, and further that Council consider the adoption draft bylaw 2026-037 and repeal bylaw 2005-026 Schedule B. Open it up for questions. Councillor Martin.
See if this works. Better. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the clerk. Just I guess maybe a clarity question around the daily fees. Understanding that the purpose of the application fee is intended to cover the cost for staff review, inspections, administration. What's the actual purpose or the intended purpose of that $30 daily licensing fee?
Oh, thank you, Councilor Martin. One of the benefits would be that our bylaw department and our roads department would know the daily whereabouts of any transient traders. It would give the clerk, myself, an opportunity to decline their preferred location if Mapleton wasn't happy with it. And that's really just that's why it's such a nominal fee.
Mr. Barron?
Through your worship, if I can just add to that. So the licensing fee is I guess, the yearly licensing fee is the licenses to do the business, to show up to the fairs, to show up to any events that churches might hold and things like that. The $30 fee is more to address the pop-up, and we have to keep it fair. So, for instance, Christian, the hot dog fellow, was in here, and if he wants to use the municipal parking lot for the day, pop-up for the day, then that's a $30 charge on top of licensing fee. So that we want to remain fair to the like Larry mentioned, to the bricks and mortar type of businesses that can't pop up where they wanted. And it keeps it an 11 playing field where it's not just one vendor or a couple vendors. Anybody can take advantage of that pop-up opportunity, if you will. But we need to monitor it somehow and try to gain some revenue to keep it fair.
So just to follow up on that then, so there's the yearly fee and the daily fee. All right. So in our past licensing here, we had the transient trader food vendor vehicle was $275 annually, or $90 a day. So we had the 1 day off. We don't, in this new bylaw, I don't see the one vendor that comes up for a church event that's just coming up for the day. Are we asking those vendors to pay the full fee for the entire year? Mr. Kelly?
Sure, through you, Mayor Davidson, to you. The bylaw does include Part 5 exemptions for the specific example you gave. So church and charitable fundraising events that are operating for not more than 24 hours are exempt from this bylaw, as well as, agricultural producers selling farm products, school fundraising events, and then township sanctioned events like the farmers market, et cetera. This is literally to deal with the transient trader that's showing up on municipal property somewhere, wants to pop up and set up. This governs that and puts some parameters around it, so it wouldn't impact the one you're speaking of there.
Well, the other question then, the reason we put that in, or one of the reasons we put that in, was Mr. Giffen, who came here to council to talk about this initially. He used to have something called Foodapalooza, where he invited all these other vendors to come up, and that's to have for 1 day, and it was done in our municipal parking lot. So the question is, are we still going to have a daily fee for something like that? Mr. Kelly?
Through you, Mayor, I would say that would qualify, again, to the interpretation of the clerk. That's who's running this bylaw and application process, but I would consider that to be a township sanctioned event approved by council. And as such, this wouldn't apply to that type of event.
Thank you. Other questions? Councilor Woodham?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Davidson. Just clarification then, we recently also had requests for a food booth at our Ball Diamonds. Unfortunately, it didn't go through. Would this be an opportunity for pop-up vendors out there who would like to take an opportunity if they knew there was a ball tournament coming, that they could contact the clerk, they could pay the $30 fee and be our pop-up vendor at our ball fields?
Through you, Mayor, I can hand it over to the CEO. I was just going to say the answer is yes. The bylaw is written mostly by finance, actually, to encompass and encourage, while just discouraging any bad behavior.
Go ahead.
Through you,
Mr.
Mayor,
Kelly.
just to add to that, it wouldn't just be the $30 though. They'd have to be a licensed vendor to operate within the township, right? So that original application fee, be it a ice cream stand or a food truck or whatever it is, they still have to get vetted out that through the fire department side of things, if they have things that need to be inspected, or building or public works or whomever, they're clear for the year, and then they could pop up $30 per baseball night that they want to be out there.
So those vendors who have paid the yearly fee can then come to the clerk and say, I'd like to set up at the ball tournament, and pay the daily fee on top of that for that location. Okay. Other questions? I do have another question, Mr. Clerk, and it comes with about permit, displaying the permit. Do we have a permit that they must display to say that they have paid their fees and they're sanctioned in town? Because without a permit, how are we supposed to enforce it?
We do have a sequentially numbered permits with Mapleton letterhead, and it's fairly
But do they
professionally
need to,
done.
do they need to actually have it on the truck? So we see some municipalities where they actually have a placard that says municipality of such and such, permit number, whatever.
They definitely should have, and that's the intent of it, and we have them covered in plastic so that, to avoid grease and dirt on them.
Thank you. Anything further? No other questions then? I'll call it. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next, we have the Q2 financial update, and I guess that's coming from Kim.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The second quarter of the fiscal year 2026 ended on June 30th, 2026, and staff have prepared a report on departmental activities and performance by functional area versus the budget. I'll start with the operating program. The Q2 report that was attached compares the departmental results versus the budget, and as shown in the report, the year-to-date surplus as of June 30th is approximately $192,000. Again, the figures presented are unaudited, and there may be some expenditure. Oh, thank you. Did you hear up until then? Okay. So the property tax revenues have been recognized, so that represents 50% of the annual tax levy revenues. And of course, for the operating budget, the timing is the driving factor. So there may be some grant funding that's not yet received. There may be expenses that have not yet been captured, and other expenses that are incurred upfront. So that can create a disparity between the revenues and expenditures. However, this balances out over time, and we expect the operating program to be within budget by the end of the year. We do have staff here this evening to answer any questions that you may have, but I will let Mr. Kelly speak to the capital program report.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, from the capital perspective, we give the update as of halfway through the year. Thanks, Carl, for putting that up. So we break it down within the report by service area, so you can see how much funding was carried forward from last year, either a surplus or deficit, how much was approved in this year's capital budget, around $10.8 million. So that middle column says the amount of funding that would be available for this year to be spent, and what we've spent year to date. So we are tracking quite well within the projects. There's a lot that show zero spending as of June 30th. That's because a lot of the capital programs kind of get going in Q3, a lot of the work. So you'll see a lot more spending has occurred over the past month and a half, but that's not captured within this report. And if you go down one more page there, Carl, just so I can follow along. Yeah, so just put in a graph in there just to show where the funding that hasn't been spent yet is allocated. And as you can see, a lot continues to be within infrastructure services and parks, and the visual things that you see out there that are being built. One last piece, not in the report, but we are working, I know I mentioned it, I think at Q1, we have with the new website, a page dedicated to our current projects within the year. So staff go in there and update the status of those projects on a periodic basis. So you should see in the coming weeks an update of where all of our projects are. There's 60 active capital projects going on right now, which is a great deal of work, but good to see a lot of them are progressing forward and within the budgets that were there. So again, similar to operating, the staff are here to comment on any projects that you may have questions about, and as well as the finance team. So that's it.
Resolution 931, moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Reid, that Council receive report FIN 2026-29 regarding the Q2 operating and capital program updates for information. Questions? Councillor Woodham.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Davidson. Probably to the Finance Department. And thank you. You did say that some grant money may not have been received yet. And if I look under Economic Development, the Moorfield Optimus LED sign, it shows a year-to-date expenditure of $35,000, and I believe we had a community grant that was paying for portion it, and I'm just wondering, is this part of the grant money that's not been received? It's not an unbudgeted amount for our taxpayers?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Davidson. Yes, you're correct. That project, as you're aware, went through the municipal grants program, was approved for a funding allocation of just over $8,000, $8,030. So the funding, what you see there is the actual expenditures as of June 30th for prepping that site ready for the sign installation that occurred. What you'll see in future reports is the allocation of that $8,030 from our municipal grants program, as well as the net being billed back to the Optimus for their contribution. No, so to be clear, the only dollar amount that is on the tax base from that whole project is what was approved under the municipal grants program.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Other questions? Seeing none. All in favor? It's carried. Moving on to the Fire Department, 941, the Borderless Response Agreement. Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to bring this report, as well as a couple others, to council today. This is an extension now of the partnership and where we've come to. This agreement, there is some agreements in place right now, but this agreement would go over top of the mutual aid agreements that we have. To more or less summarize it, say that if the closest station, no matter what the municipality is, would go to the call. So if you could picture a map of the 3 municipalities all together, and each, the entire area is divided into about 119 different little cubes. So inside each of those cubes would be the 6 stations that are closest to that area. That's how finite and down we've got it. So each cube is GISed, has coordinates, so that if you call by cell phone, you say you're here. With Next Generation 911, they can coordinate your cell phone to see where you are. They know exactly where you are. And dispatch could automatically on their screen see which are the close 6 stations from 1 to 6. So that's what this is progressing towards. It generally will not affect the first station out. Where it'll affect is the second station coming in. So for example, you look here in Mapleton, heading towards the new roundabout, that end of Mapleton, it might be Moorfield and say Palmerston would respond as first and second. And then you look down at the top end of Mapleton, it would probably be Drayton and Arthur that would respond to up there. So that we're not having, stations all over the place because they're within the municipality, but they have to drive 30 kilometers to get to back up their station. There's stations that are closer. So that's what this takes care of. We've built into it that we'll bring a report to council every year so that you can see the statistics and the data that show the stations that are responding, just to make sure it's not lopsided, that one municipality is going into another one a ton, to make sure that it's going to be cost beneficial. Our anticipation is there's not going to be a lot of costs that are going to be incurred by each municipality because we'll be helping each other out all over the place like what we do now. But the data will be brought to council every year so that you'll be able to see it and we'll be able to make adjustments as we go along. But in our opinion as a fire management team, this is the best thing we can do for our residents in the 3 municipalities to make sure that we're getting people on scene quicker and more efficiently.
Thank you, Chief. Resolution 941, moved by Councilor Reid, second by Councilor Martin, that Council receive report 2026-05 regarding the Borderless Response Agreement for information. And further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign an agreement authorizing Mapleton Fire Rescue to operate under the borderless response protocols established when responding. Questions? Okay, Mike. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly, I love this report. I'm glad that the chief has brought his previous experience as a paramedic into the seamless coverage. Actually, probably the most exciting part of this is that the partnership's mature enough and at this point where, that level of cooperation exists, right? I think it's wonderful, and arguably, I hope other municipalities follow this example and the seamless coverage, right? There's places even in the city where if you're on one side of the road, you wait a little bit longer for a station from another town to come, right? So I think this is wonderful for our residents and for Minto and Wellington North.
Thank you, Mike, and I would agree with that. It's very progressive that we have this Tri-Fire service, and this is another piece of the progression to make it seamless, that we are responding together at calls, regardless of the border. That's what the idea of the Tri-Fire was, that we were going to work together in not only equipment and training, but also in response. So this is a great piece here. Go ahead.
Sorry, one real quick follow-up. Chief, have you identified anywhere in the 3 municipalities that's going to see kind of a real net benefit or a net gain on this, even from I know you said it's going to be more the secondary and third stations, but what about from a primary station response? Anything that Khalees has earmarked off the top?
Yes, our resident GIS expert. There is a few pockets of areas that will, no doubt, because old, I'll say, territories where it went to your municipal border. So a prime example of that would be you think Minto and Mount Forest, right up to the corners there, County Road 6 and Highway 89. Hairston covers right up to that very corner because that's Minto right up to that corner. So right away, that's going to be an area because you're 16 kilometers from Hairston and you're 2 from Mount Forest. So that's an example. Other examples, not as drastic, but the village, like Tiviotdale, there is some Mapleton that's right there. Palmerston's fairly quick to get there as opposed to, so it's just little pockets like that. They're going to see it. But the way that we're responding now is we need 2 and 3 stations a lot of times just because of people and turning out the right number of firefighters. So that's going to be the net benefit, is seeing 2 stations be able to get on scene a lot quicker. And we're lucky here in Mapleton because the stations are so close together, but in Mount Forest and Arthur, they're 25 kilometers apart, their stations. So people being able to be second and third stations in to help that out, we'll see all of our residents benefit a lot. So yeah, excited about it.
Thank you, Chief. Good question. Anything further? All in favor? It's carried. Chief, have the other councils signed off on this yet?
Correct. Yeah, we're lucky with the way summer meetings lined up. Yesterday was Wellington North. Minto was this afternoon, and everybody's had no issues and signed off on it right away. So
Perfect.
As of tonight, all 3 have signed off, and it will be, once it's signed, it'll be in effect, and we can get the GIS moving forward.
Thank you, Chief. Now you want to move on to your next report, fire protection grant, please?
This one's just a formality report. I kind of threw a curveball at the CFO here, and when I threw this one in, but the fire marshal's office asked us to get this in. It's just a pre-approval for the Office of Fire Marshal grant that they put out every year. This is the 4th year for the grant. It's meant to purchase equipment to help with cancer prevention activities on fire scenes and in stations. So they just asked that we get pre-approval done just in case some councils go into lame duck or stuff like that. Complications wise, they didn't want to have anything like that. So get the pre-approval that we can sign the agreement and accept their money, which I'm pretty sure we all want to do with open hands. So
Never a problem accepting money. Resolution 942, moved by Councilor Woodham, second by Councilor Ottens, that council receives report FIR 2026-006 regarding the fire protection grant program for information, and further that council authorizes staff to submit an application for funding to support the purchase of personal protective equipment under the fire protection grant program. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried. And last, Chief, it's a specialty rescue services agreement.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We bring our reports in bunches, so we did it this week so we could double the size of the agenda for you. So sorry for everybody making you stay longer. This is also a cleanup of previous things that we talked about. A previous report where we disbanded the water rescue team and confined space team that we had. We've been operating with Center Wellington kind of on a handshake agreement that if we needed anything, they would come and help us. But we've been also working in the background that we had to formalize this and get something in writing so that it's covered for both agencies. This is the best that we can offer because of not being able to offer it ourselves. Next best thing is to sign a neighbor that does this and is fully certified in this discipline. So Center Wellington is going to cover off all of our water rescue and ice rescue for us and any rope rescues that are needed. Under this agreement, they will be dispatched at the exact same time as our station that it's involved in. So, for example, if it's at Conestoga Lake and our stations are going paged, Fergus and Elora will be paged at the exact same time, so they can muster their water rescue team and get on the road to us. It doesn't mean that we're not going to respond. We're still going to respond. There's 3 different levels of rescue capabilities. There's awareness, operations, and technician. We'll be trained to the operations level, meaning we can get stuff ready on the shore. We can establish the area, we can establish some ropes, etc. We just have to wait for them to get on the scene to perform the actual in the water rescue. So we'll be working together with them to formalize that. But as I said, this is just giving us permission to sign the agreement and actually formalize our relationship with them to perform these type of rescues for us in our municipality.
Thank you, Chief. Resolution moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, that council receive report FIR 2026-007 regarding the Specialty Rescue Services Agreement for information, and further that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the agreement for Specialty Rescue Services to be provided by Centre Wellington Fire Department. Questions from council to the chief. Another great piece. I know we're just putting it down in writing, and I know Centre Wellington has been doing it for us. But it is great to have that now down in writing and what it's actually cost for us, and it's laid out for us. All in favor? It's carried. That's done for the chief. Thanks, Chief. Moving on to source water protection. Kyle Davis. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you very much. Mayor and Council, I'm pleased to be here today to present this report to you. As Council may recall, we've had a little bit of staff turnover in the Wellington Source Water Department. So this report is for your consideration on appointing the 2 successful candidates in the 2 vacant positions, Ms. Jordan Grigg and Ms. Kira Martinson, as risk management inspectors and alternate risk management officials for the Township of Mapleton. And I'd be pleased to take any questions that Council may have.
Thank you, Kyle. Resolution moved by Councillor Woodham, second by Councillor Ottens, that report SWP 2026-02 regarding risk management officials pursuant to the Clean Water Act be received for information, and further that council appoint Jordan Grigg and Kiera Martinson as risk management inspectors and alternate risk management officials for the Township of Mapleton. Questions for Kyle? Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say congratulations on the recruitment and getting your team fully staffed. I'm sure that's helpful for you as well during peak vacation season and all that stuff too, right? It all matters, right? So it's great to see you firing on all cylinders.
Thank you very much.
Kyle, were one or both of them at the farm show?
Yes, both were. Yes, we all rotated through.
Perfect. Thank you. I do remember meeting new people. I just want to make sure the same ones. All right. They're stuck around. Perfect. Anything further? All in favor? It's carried. Going to 10.5, which is approval of bylaws. Moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham. That bylaws number 2026-037, 038, 039, 040, and 041 be hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed the 11th day of August 2026. Any questions or comments on any of these bylaws? Councilor Martin.
Sorry for all the questions. I had a quick question about number 41. When this came before council, I think there was Linda had mentioned the size of the barn. And I know it now the bylaw specifically states, horse and buggy I think that was, the scope was narrowed down, but my question, I guess, perhaps for Mrs. McCabe, is 3,200 square feet considered small? Like, is that a routine size that we've done before?
Planning Manager McCabe.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Davidson. I don't know. I'm sorry. I would have to have a look back. I know that we've had a lot of back and forth with the applicant's planner and our planner, and given everything that's gone on before this, it seems perfectly reasonable to me, but
Yeah, I do recall that. We talked about the small barn, and the applicant was here, it was just for the family, and there's going to be a small barn. So I'm assuming that's what they ended up doing with a small barn for the family horses. Anything further? Call the question. All in favor then? It's carried. We have a number of correspondence for council's information. Every time I come here, I say that the clerk has outdone himself, and this time he's even outdone himself again. Anything from council on any of these 31 correspondence? Seeing nothing. Go to item 13 then. Do we have a notice of motion? We'll go to item 15, other business. Anybody have something for other business? I'll start off with saying that the fair was fantastic. It was a very busy fair. We had good weather, a little bit of rain, 10 minutes on Saturday afternoon, but it was just a light drizzle. But it was very, very busy. I was there all 3 days. I was working at the gate. I was doing the watermelon contest. I was pied in the face. There's a lot of things going on the weekend at the fair. But I know that it was so busy on Saturday, we actually had to close the road down because the parking was full. And we had to start using the shuttle buses. So I know the fair board was quite happy with the turnout that they got. I look forward to seeing their final numbers of what they brought in. But again, that fair cannot happen, and we're so grateful as a community, and I tell them, the volunteers, the board volunteers, as well as all the volunteers that show up for the fair weekend to make this happen. We have a number of vendors that come. We have sponsors for the fair that sponsor things. Kids' events are all free. Like, that's amazing. You know, so we have a great fair, and we should be really proud that we have that in our community, which I am, and I know you all are. I think Lori and you were there, and so were you, Councilor Ottens. We're both there at the fair. And what's your take on the fair when you were there?
Yeah, I sit there as a vendor, but it's actually my little creepy way to observe everybody without, because I could just watch. I have a reason to sit there to watch, because I find it has really increased the last number of years, the attendance and the awareness and the participation. It's one thing to go to the fair, but it's even more important to participate in it. And the number of entries in the different, home crafts and flowers, that's increased considerably in the last number of years. My husband was at the tractor pull, and he was sitting beside a man with 2 kids, and they came from Toronto. And I said, how in the world? And he said he just saw it on social media somehow, and he thought it would be fun to go to a small town fair. And his kid he literally said, next year when we come, we should do blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, so it's a thing. And so, I mean, it's a destination, I think, and we have to keep it that way.
Yeah, and I will say, I add on to that, the cattle show, the sheep show, the dairy show, all of it, way more people coming out and paying the fee and putting their animals into the show, and so much so that they had to keep adding pens every year to house all of these animals. So very good. Councilor Reid.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to comment if anyone had seen Tate Driscoll's post about fair entries. It was bang on a perfect example of why Drayton Fair is what it is. It's every little kid who brings in that one little entry they have that they want to see put up on the board. It doesn't matter if they win or lose, it just matters that they got to take part in something that's so much bigger than they are, and whether they came home with a participation ribbon or first place, they just get so excited over it. And to see that that post about our little fair, which isn't so little anymore, when I look at the fair 10 years ago to the fair today, it's amazing to see what it's come to.
Thank you. Anything else for other business? Councilor Martin.
I'll have you know that Moorfield was also bustling this weekend. The Ball Diamonds Drayton Minor Ball hosted the U15 year-end tournament. Plus, there was a wedding going on at the community center, so you want to talk about a crowd. That was a happening place for a couple of days, so there was good crowds out there too. We were actually friends of ours that were up from the city. I was trying to convince them about the small town experience, and I'm like, where else can you drive your side-by-side to the diner for breakfast? So he said he was going to try and convince his wife about the merits of small town living. But yeah, Moorfield was also a happening place this weekend.
Excellent. Anything further? We don't have a closed session tonight, so we'll go to number 17. Moved by Councillor Woodham, second by Councillor Ottens, that bylaw number 2026-042, being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Mapleton, be hereby ready first, second, and third time, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with a corporate seal. All in favor? That is carried. We are adjourned, Mr. Clerk, at 7:37.